Hey guys, how's it going? We are doing a different type of video today. I can barely hear myself in these headsets, headphones, whatever. But we are going to be reacting to Dav Kaufman's Are We Keeping Them Correctly in the Wild for Ackie Monitors that was just released. I knew this was coming. I have watched it once, and I gotta say, I really love Dav Kaufman. This is definitely not against him as a person or his work with reptiles. He's obviously done a lot and has brought great educational content and such, but I honestly, after sitting on thinking about this for a few days, really think he kind of dropped the ball on it. There's a lot of misinformation that he said on it as well. And I really want to stress that this is nothing negative against Dave or his work. It's just this one video I have to do. I really wanted to do this react video to it to clear up some of the misinformation in it that I wish he wouldn't have said, and it really could have been done a little bit better. So let's get to it, and I'll talk about where the misinformation is at and where I think the video could have improved. Of course, real quick, shout out to Herp M and David T for supporting the Patreon. It really means a lot to me. Check the top right for more information on the cool rewards you can get by supporting this channel's Patreon. Also, if you're in the merch, check the description. We have a lot of really cool designs that would be awesome to wear at any convention. And lastly, make sure to check out the Herp Hour on Twitch. We just wrapped one up with homegrown scales. That was really fun. And we are now affiliated. If you have Amazon Prime, you could give us a free $5 a month by subscribing, and you get cool emojis for chat, and it's just really awesome. And we had a great conversation in the last episode. Anyway, guys, let's get to the video. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna watch the video. The video will be on, I think, right here somewhere on this screen, where I'm actually watching it. I'm not gonna watch it all the way through. I'm just gonna take portions where I have some feedback to give. So let's get to it and let's react to this video.
So excavating this burrow a little bit more and sticking the humidity gauge in there, we can now see that it's almost 90% humidity.
And this was probably one of the more interesting parts of the video. I do have problems with this on a larger scale that I'll get to in a little bit. But it was really interesting to see at least one reading. I didn't expect it to reach 90% humidity in there, especially at a temperature of 105 at the same time. I thought it would be around 75 to 80%. So that's really interesting. When it comes down to it, though, the real problem of looking in the wild is that you could just kind of get an initial idea of their preferences. Captive care is way different than the wild, so it doesn't really translate. It's more of an idea of what we're dealing with and how we could kind of mimic similar stuff in captivity, but obviously being that they're not the same and they're very different, it's going to be uncomparable. But let's continue on.
In that burrow, and still it's 105 degrees. There, it just hit 90% humidity in this burrow. And if I take the temperature probe out and let it sit in the air for just a second here, you can see that that's going all the way down into the teens. And
this is what we talked about quite a few times. In the humidity debate video I did, I talked about how the air humidity in Australia in these ranges is very, very low, like in the teens. There's data that I showed this, and that showed it was to be true from reputable places. This is nothing new if you're really into Ackie care, but it's cool to see someone who's more notable show this off so people understand Ackie humidity a little bit more. But this is what we've been talking about a whole lot of, the past couple months, and I guess couple months. It hasn't really been a year yet, but we've been talking about this for a while, but I'm happy that this shows it off in a different light.
As far as hide boxes are concerned, I would mimic the rocks out here that they're living in. And
I would recommend to not mimic that, purely for the fact that a lot of people do not know how to make sturdy rock hides, and that can really be dangerous in terms of collapsing in. You can include rocks in your enclosures, but I wouldn't do some sort of formation unless you really know what you're doing. I don't think it's like sort of a bad recommendation or anything. It's just it's kind of iffy in captivity. Putting together some sort of structure that is stable and that the Ackie won't knock over somehow and damage themselves. You guys know what I kind of mean.
have different layered structures of hide boxes.
Different layered
and when you
structures.
go
That's
to mist your
definitely something
enclosures,
worth it.
mist directly within those hide boxes to increase that humidity within those hides, because that is where your Ackie is going to retreat to get that humidity that they so need out here. All right, so right now it's about 4:30 in the afternoon.
Spray your whole enclosure down, but the idea of microclimates, and that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to find microclimates. That's where the good humidity is going to be at. That's why babies usually burrow underneath their water bowl so much. But still keep probably all the substrate at some level down, a couple inches down, moist and humid. So I just want to add that, but nothing wrong there.
That rock is still 110 degrees Fahrenheit where these Ackies are out basking in it. 110 degrees Fahrenheit is 43 degrees Celsius. And I'll just take some more readings over here on rocks like this. That one is also 110 degrees Fahrenheit. 111 degrees on that one.
Okay, so I'll kind of get to my problem with the readings he's doing as such. Generally, it's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong there. And it's good to see some actual data instead of just talk. And I know a lot of Australians give us this data online, but like I said, there's something to someone notable, especially in video format, giving us this data. What the real problem is, though, is that in scientific research, no matter what domain, you need a lot of data to be convincing. You can't just go to one hole, measure the temperature, measure the humidity. You can't just go to one or two rocks and measure the temperature and then be like, okay, this is what it is. This is the facts. It's not. You need a lot of different data, especially depending on seasons, depending on the location in their range, in the Accie's living range. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, so you cannot make any claims off of this little bit of data. And I understand, you know, he's not going to live there for years and take data every day. I don't expect that. And maybe I'm riding him a little bit too hard here in terms of, you know, getting on this and bringing this up. But I'm just concerned because I feel like people are going to watch this and take these few readings as, you know, absolute fact for what they have in the wild and what they're experiencing, and it's not. So I just want to add this in. I definitely don't... I just wish he gave more context to this, being that this is just sort of preliminary results and really aren't anything solid.
Celsius ambient air temperature, which is 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
And this was a part, probably I found one of the most interesting as well. The ambient temperature, this was pretty cool, and it got me thinking a little bit about captivity. Like I said, it's really hard to see a translation from wild to captivity because of so many variables, but it was definitely interesting to see the ambient temperature here. And I would really like to see the ambient temperature throughout seasons and in different areas of their livable zone.
For the substrate, you can get pretty creative with mixing, you know, what commercially available substrates there are, like sand, dirt, shredded coconut. So with all this information in mind, when it comes time for your enclosures at home and how you design them, just make sure that the bottom of the cage has a basin big enough to hold at least 6 to 9 inches of the substrate.
This was the only time that I kind of got really upset, just purely because I've been such a big advocate for 4x2x2 size enclosures being way too small, and I think this is giving the idea that those enclosures are fine with only 6 to 9 inches as the minimum. I think he said at least, but people obviously will probably take that as this is okay, I can give 6 and that's more than enough. No, that is way too short. I really had a problem with that portion because you really want to give at least 12 inches at the very minimum, and that's only for a male. For a female, you want to give about 1.5 feet. They go pretty deep when laying eggs, even if they're infertile. And, you know, if you really want to do it proper, I recommend about 20 inches would be a good size. I have 24 inches, 2 feet of substrate in my Ackie enclosures, my adult Ackie enclosures, and they go down as far as 20 inches, although it's not all the time. You want to give them that option. 6 to 9 inches, that is not okay. Do not do that.
So studies on wild Ackies have shown that their stomach contents have a large amount of arthropods, beetles, cockroaches, and even lizards were the main prey items. And because of the high temperatures that they live in, these monitors have really speedy metabolisms and therefore should be fed at least 5 to 7 times per week.
Do not feed an adult Ackie 5 to 7 times a week. This is the wild. They are very opportunistic. They will go out and they will probably eat anything they can find that is edible and works for them. But they are actively searching in the wild for food. It is not provided to them. Feeding an adult Ackie pretty much every day, that's not going to go well. They're going to get fat. They're going to get lazy. They will eat anything you give them because, like I said, they take advantage of the opportunity. They're not going to deny food even if they're getting fat and, you know, it's not healthy for them. As babies, you know, feeding every day is pretty standard. I'm not going to disagree to that, but he's talking about full-grown Ackies here. Do not feed a captive Ackie that you're keeping as a pet, whatever, as a family member every day. It's not going to go well for them. That's not how you should take care of them in captivity.
Need to be fed daily. So insects such as crickets, waxworms, mealworms, roaches, they make up the bulk of the diet in captives. And in the breeding season with your females, you can even feed them the occasional pinky or frozen thawed ground turkey to...
So, I feel like this is what he's saying. Usually after a female lays a clutch, I do give 1 or 2 pinkies, and a lot of breeders do that. And it is okay to give a pinky mouse, maybe even a fuzzy mouse, every so often to an Ackie as a treat, but I would not keep that standard in their diet. That is not great for them. They are pretty much insectivores, so keep it insect-based. So I would not do ground turkey though. People do ground turkey, and it's probably, if you do it rarely, not the end of the world. Same with egg. If you do it rarely, it's probably not the end of the world, but I see no benefit to it. It's not in their natural diet. I personally do not do it. But you know, if you do it as a treat, I'm not gonna say that's wrong, but I would not incorporate it much into their diet.
Really beef them up during the breeding season. But be careful because adults have been known to become obese when fed pinkies more than 3 to 4 times a week. And with your males, you can feed them bits of fish.
So, obviously, if you're feeding a pinky 3 to 4 times a week, they're definitely going to get obese. I had a little bit of issue when I experimented with pinkies and Ackies, where I would feed a pinky once a month, and they were putting on more weight than I would have liked and were looking a little chunky. So that's why you want to stay away from pinkies. They're very fatty and stuff like that. I would do nothing near 3 to 4 times a week, let alone once a month.
Or scrambled eggs to increase their protein intake as well, but out here in the...
I would not. I like I said, if it's a rare treat, I don't think it's the end of the world, but they're insectivores. Alright, so that's pretty much all the stuff I had something to say about. I do want to add on that, obviously, you know, I'm talking about wild to captivity and the disconnect there, and he is trying to really look at the wild and then connect it to captivity. For example, he's talking about the small lizards that Ackies sometimes eat being their protein source if they need it, and then that protein source in captivity could be egg. Possibly, and I'm sure that if you were really good on top, overly on top of, you know, keeper and really paid attention to that, it would possibly be fine. Obviously, I think if you're gut loading your insects correctly and stuff and feeding a good normal diet, it should be fine without the additional protein. But he's trying to make a connection there, and I think what my real problem is there is that you really can't translate the wild to captivity. There's way too many variables that are different between the two, and there's really no direct translation. It just doesn't work like that. And that's just kind of concerning because, I mean, I know this is a popular series and there is some good value to it, but you really just can't take the wild and put it in captivity. It doesn't work like that. But that's about it, guys. I really just wanted to do a video reacting to this. I knew this was coming for a while. I was pretty excited. I wanted to just clear up any misinformation, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, make sure to check out the Patreon, the merch, that's in the description. Make sure to check out us on the Herp Hour on Twitch, and we will be having Scales 13, another Ackie Monitor creator, coming on Saturday. So make sure to come on there. A lot of cool Ackie talk this Saturday. See you guys.